What is up, everybody, and welcome in. How y'all doing today? Hold on, I'm gonna get this light adjusted really quick, but we're gonna be doing our running back rankings for week 2 of the fantasy football season, and I'm also gonna be answering all of your fantasy football questions. So I'm gonna start right here with the first player on my list. Let me get this light real quick. Creating a little bit of a glare, I think. All right, guys, welcome into the show. Yet another episode of Crushing Fantasy Football. Today, I'm going to be giving you all my running back rankings for week number 2. Here we go. Starting with the first player on my list, number 1, Breece Hall against Tennessee. I like this matchup. I mean, I obviously think that Breece Hall is one of the best running backs in the NFL from a talent standpoint. He's going to be a 3-down bell cow. We know that these guys typically are a guaranteed recipe for success. This is going to be a guy that absolutely goes off in week 1. Number 2 on the week is going to be Saquon Barkley. I like Saquon up against Atlanta. This has the potential to be a shootout game. I think that it's going to be one of the higher scoring games on the slate. I haven't checked the Vegas point spreads yet, but I think that this is going to be one of the higher scoring games on the slate. Saquon obviously looked very good in week 1. So I like Saquon Barkley to have a massive game against Atlanta. This is a guy who we never really knew how good that he could be in New York, right? And now he's playing behind a good offensive line. And his first game that he plays behind a good offensive line, he absolutely explodes. I don't think he needs Jason Kelce. This offensive line is good enough to support Saquon. He spent his entire career getting hit behind the line of scrimmage in New York. Now he actually has holes to run through. This dude comes out and has 3 touchdowns in his first game. It looks like he's going to be the one siphoning goal line touches away from Jalen Hurts and not the other way around. I love Saquon to have a big-time week 2 against an Atlanta team that really isn't going to have an answer for the Philly run game. And in that same game, I have Bijan Robinson as my number 3 going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles obviously have a strong defense. They're good at stopping the run game, but Bijan this year is going to be matchup proof. He's really shown to be matchup proof in his career. He just hasn't gotten the volume yet. So this is a guy that, given the opportunity, can be a matchup proof running back. I think as long as he gets the workload, which this year it looks like they're going to give it to him, he's going to be good. Came out in week 1, only had 16 fantasy points, but saying only 16 fantasy points is kind of ridiculous because 16 fantasy points is a very solid performance. It's just that we expect so much from Bijan Robinson, but it looks like they're going to cut him loose this year. I like him to go off against Philadelphia. Number 4 on my list is going to be Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams going up against Arizona. Arizona is obviously one of the weaker defenses in the league. This game has some serious shootout potential. I think the Cardinals are going to be involved in almost more shootout games than any other team this season, given the fact that they're going to be one of the weaker defenses in the league, so they're going to be in a lot of high-scoring games. The Rams could easily be ahead in this game early and just start to run the clock, and Kyren Williams is going to get a significant workload. It looks like Corum isn't going to get that much work in his backfield. I love Kyren this week. Number 5 on the week is going to be Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor up against Green Bay. I like Jonathan Taylor. I think he had a little bit disappointing of a week 1, but, the workload is there. The talent is there. Going up against a defense with a good pass rush, I mean, the Colts are going to need to get rid of the ball quickly, whether that be run the ball, dump off passes to Jonathan Taylor out of the backfield, have Anthony Richardson run. Either way, it's going to be a game plan where Anthony Richardson isn't just dropping back and passing as much as he was last week because of the vicious Green Bay pass rush. So I think they're going to hand the ball off to Jonathan Taylor. I think they're going to dump off the ball out of the backfield and give him a pretty significant workload in this game. I like Jonathan Taylor to have a big week. Number 6 on the week is going to be Alvin Kamara. Now, I wanted to have Alvin Kamara ranked higher. I mean, this is a guy who is going to see so many dump-offs out of the backfield this week, playing up against the Dallas Cowboys pass rush. We saw how ridiculously good that pass rush looked last week. And with that being the case, they're going to be dumping off to Alvin Kamara all day because Derek Carr is not going to have any time to pass whatsoever. So I can see Alvin Kamara coming out and legitimately getting 12 targets in this game. We saw him rush extremely efficiently last week. This dude still has pretty serious talent and pretty serious rushing upside. to go along with being an elite pass catching back. I like him as my number 6 running back on the week. Number 7 on the week is going to be Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon up against the Chicago Bears. Joe Mixon had 30 carries in week 1. Obviously, this is a guy who just absolutely came out and tore it up and was the running back 1 on the week. And I can see a similar workload in this game. I mean, odds are the Texans are going to be playing from behind. Any game where the Texans are going to be playing from ahead in this game. Most likely, they are the significantly better team than Chicago. So I see Joe Mixon getting a massive workload again. I don't think he's going to be as good this year as was represented in week 1, but I do expect him to have a very good season, and I especially expect him to have a good game against the defense that's not going to have an answer for him in a game where the Houston Texans should be playing with a lead. Look for him to have 22-plus carries again in this game and go off. By the way, guys, I'm answering all fantasy football questions. So, yes, I'm trying to get these rankings out, and I am doing that as quickly as I can, but I'm also answering all fantasy football questions that you guys ask in the chat, so don't be afraid to ask away. Isaiah Pacheco at number 8 playing up against Cincinnati. I like Isaiah Pacheco this week. This is a guy who's playing in one of the best offenses in the NFL. His rushing abilities are second to none. I mean, this guy runs so hard. He's starting to become a lot more of an elite pass-catching back as his career progresses. It looks like Marquise Brown is going to be out for a while. That means even more targets out of the backfield for Isaiah Pacheco. Look for this dude to be getting 3-4 targets a game out of the backfield. That increased pass-catching upside is going to help him out significantly. Going up against Cincinnati in what could be a shootout game, whether they're playing from ahead or behind, there should be no way that Isaiah Pacheco gets scripted out of this game. So I like him this week against the Cincinnati Bengals. I have Jahmyr Gibbs at my number 9. Number 9, Jahmyr Gibbs against Tampa Bay. I like Jahmyr Gibbs against Tampa Bay. I mean, look, this is obviously somewhat of a split backfield, but we saw this at the beginning of the season last year. They like to use Montgomery early in the season. They like to use Montgomery early in games to beat up the defense, and then they bring Jahmyr Gibbs in for the big play ability, for the ability to get around the edge, for the ability to break apart the defense. He's got that game-breaking speed and upside. So once David Montgomery wears out the defense, they bring Jahmyr Gibbs in to sort of hit the home runs for the team and make the big plays. I like him in this matchup against Tampa Bay. I like the 1-2 punch. I like the fact that they use Montgomery to run the ball up the middle and wear down the defense and let him get all the wear and tear while Jahmyr Gibbs comes in for the big plays. I like that very much. I am going to move on to my number 10, which is going to be Jordan Mason. Now, this is a lot higher than a lot of people have Jordan Mason in their rankings for the week, but I just don't understand why. Going up against Minnesota, this should be a game where, like, literally the best game script possible for probably any running back in my rankings. I mean, they're playing against Minnesota. They're going to be playing with the lead. This is one of the best offenses in the NFL. Jordan Mason could very well get 25-plus, if not 30 carries in this game. This dude is going to be used as a workhorse as long as Christian McCaffrey's out. It looks like Christian McCaffrey might go on IR. So Jordan Mason is going to be absolutely tearing it up in the meantime while Christian McCaffrey is on the IR. There's really nobody else behind him on the depth chart. He's going to be getting all the touches in this offense. Moving on to number 11 is going to be Josh Jacobs against Indianapolis. I have Josh Jacobs against Indy. Look for Josh Jacobs to have a bounce-back game. I mean, look, they are going to be leaning on him heavily as long as Jordan Love is out of the lineup. Obviously, the overall efficiency of the offense won't be as good with Josh Jacobs the overall efficiency of the offense won't be as good without Jordan Love, but they're going to lean on Josh Jacobs that much more. So, like, even though the offense won't be as efficient, they still have weapons all over the place. They still have a ton of good pass catchers, and Josh Jacobs is still an elite back running behind a very solid offensive line. I think that he's going to get more dump-offs out of the backfield, too, because, you know, with a less talented quarterback, they're going to be slinging the ball downfield less, and he's going to be looking to check the ball down, which means increased target share for Josh Jacobs. Both the increased target share and the increased rushing volume will make up for the fact that the offense takes a little bit of a hit. I like Josh Jacobs against Indianapolis. I don't think they have a defense good enough to shut him down. Next on my list is going to be Derrick Henry against Las Vegas. Derrick Henry. Is A.J. Brown okay? Derrick Henry against Las Vegas. I like Derrick Henry against Las Vegas. I mean, This is a matchup where, like, I don't know. I expect Derrick Henry to bounce back a little bit. I mean, the Ravens are going to be playing with the lead in this game. This is a defense that could definitely give up a ton of rushing yardage. So I like Derrick Henry to go off this week. I like him to get in the end zone. He was one of the top projected touchdown scorers on the slate for a reason and on the season for a reason because, you know, like he's playing on a team that's often going to be playing with leads and he's going to be getting all the goal line carries. Is A.J. Brown okay? To be 100% honest with you, my man, I do not know the extent of what's going on with A.J. Brown right now. I wish I could give you a concrete answer to that, but I'm not 100% sure. James Conner is coming in at number 13 on my list, going against the L.A. Rams. I like James Conner this week. I mean, look, the LA Rams just gave up a ton of rushing yardage last week. James Conner is shown to be the main weapon in this Arizona offense. It looks like the offense is going to run through the run game, which it very well should because they have a talented back in James Conner. And at the same time, they're not really using Trey Benson. So I like James Conner to absolutely torch the Rams this week. Yes, they might be playing from behind because they're the inferior team, but James Conner catches a lot more passes now out of the backfield than he has at any point in his entire fantasy career. So his odds of getting scripted out of games are slim to none now, whereas back in the day, you know, he might actually get scripted out of games. Start Charbonnet, Ford, or Brandon Cooks? That's a good question, my man. I am going to be – I don't know. I like Jerome Ford against Jacksonville. I think that this has the potential to be a high-scoring game. I think that Cleveland is going to bounce back in a significant way. So I like starting Jerome Ford against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Anthony in the house. What's up, my man? How you doing, bro? Good to see you. Moving on to number 14, Kenneth Walker. So I have Kenneth Walker going up against the New England Patriots. I like this matchup. Obviously, like, he's injured right now, right? So we don't really know what's going on with him. Everyone's picking up Zach Charbonnet off the waiver wire. I'm doing this under the assumption that, you know, he's going to play. He's going to be at 100%. But obviously, we've got to really monitor what's going on with Kenneth Walker right now and make sure that he's healthy. I'm not 100% sure that he's even going to be Walker doubtful. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to keep a close eye on it. I saw that. It might not have been the same exact article, but like I've seen postings about, you know, talking about Tom Brady coming back. I think that they're completely and totally blowing smoke when it comes to this. I don't think that Tom Brady comes out of retirement to play for the Dolphins. I don't think that Tom Brady comes out of retirement, period. The dude is like 97 years old, but it's always possible. He is the GOAT. He's defied the laws of aging thus far, and maybe he continues to do it. Maybe the miracle story that is Tom Brady continues, and maybe he comes out and plays for the Dolphins, which would be absolutely mind-blowing, but I'm going to give that a 1% chance. I'm losing too many players, so Walker must be doubtful. Why not? My team is blowing apart. Hey, it's early, man. Like, you know how this goes. I mean, like, even though your team might seem like it's falling apart right now, with the right management, with the right trades, with the right waiver wire activity, you can certainly bounce back. And, you know, every season there's players that come off the waiver wire that end up being league winners. Last year's Kyron Williams, Puka Nacua. You know, this year it looks like Jordan Mason could be that guy. There's going to be sleepers that come off the waiver wire at some point that end up being league-winning players. So just keep paying attention to your waiver wire, bro. Don't let it get you down. I thought Tannehill makes the most sense. He was there and knows the place. Yeah, I agree. No Brady. Yeah, I give Tom Brady a 1% chance of playing for the Dolphins, which means that there is a chance. I never panic. I won my big money league last year. It's only week 1, but thank you. Yeah, I know. And I'm not saying that you are panicking. I'm just saying, like, it's not worth getting down. Like, injuries, like, you can't control them. A.J. Brown popped on the injury report due to hamstring injury. Can you do me a favor, Tyler, and let me know when exactly this happened with the A.J. Brown on the injury report? Because I'm not too incredibly familiar with the injury. Oh, yeah, moving on to my number 16. I'm going to have Ramondre. I'm just going to put Mondre. Y'all know who I'm talking about. Mondre against Seattle. So I like Ramondre Stevenson against Seattle. I mean, this is like, I don't know. Like, the Seattle defense certainly isn't a defense that's just going to absolutely shut Ramondre Stevenson down. We know that this is one of the few backs in the running in the league that really isn't going to get scripted out of games due to his pass catching upside. It looks like that even though Antonio Gibson is there, Ramondre Stevenson is going to be used in the passing game. So I like Ramondre Stevenson against Seattle. And moving on to my number 17, and I'll get around to y'all's questions in a second. I like Jerome Ford against Jacksonville at my number 17. I like Jerome Ford against Jacksonville. I mean, this is a game that certainly has shootout potential. Like I was saying earlier, I think this could be one of the higher scoring games on the slate. And Jacksonville is typically involved in high scoring games because they have an offense that can put points on the board, despite the fact that they're looking a little bit shaky in week one. But they can put points on the board. So can the Browns. I expect both these teams to bounce back from an offensive perspective this week. And I don't think the Jacksonville Jaguars defense has what it takes to stop Jerome Ford. I think Jerome Ford is good enough and explosive enough to have a huge game this week. He is my number 17. And Sonny Ramaji, I just happened to answer your question by ranking Jerome Ford right there. So no problem, bro. AJ Brown 2 hours ago, ESPN Fantasy app. Wow. Yeah, I was about to say that must have just popped up because I checked the ESPN Fantasy app and read up on injuries every hour. So for this to come up and me not know about it, I knew it had to be very recent. I'm not 100% sure. Says AJ Brown, limited hammy concern, CBS as well 2 hours ago. Wow. Okay, number 18 on my list is going to be Rachaad White. I like Rachaad White this week. I like the matchup, Rachaad White going up against Detroit. Actually, I don't like the matchup. Sorry, I was thinking about somebody else. I do not like the matchup for Detroit for Rachaad White this week. I think that he's going up against a very tough run defense. Obviously, the Lions have one of the best run defenses in the NFL. And I just don't know. Rachaad White is not an efficient back to begin with. This dude had 15 carries for 31 yards in last game. Last year, he averaged less than 4 yards a carry. This is not an efficient back. He always gets bailed out by his efficiency in the pass catching department. So unless he has a massive game as a pass catcher, odds are he's not going to do very well against Detroit. Also, Bucky Irving's getting a pretty healthy opportunity share in this offense. So, yeah, I like Rachaad White enough to be in my top 20, but I'm not really too big on him this week. That's why he's lower in my rankings than most people have him. Brian Robinson Jr. is going to be my 19. Brian Robinson against the New York Giants. Yeah, Brian Robinson against the New York Giants. Obviously, he had a very good week one. This is a guy who looks like he's going to be the main bell cow in the offense. So I like Brian Robinson. Aaron Jones versus San Fran or Gus Edwards going against the mighty Panthers. I absolutely hate Aaron Jones against San Francisco. And I'm going to tell you to start Aaron Jones most week because this is still showing to be one of the most efficient backs in the NFL. It's still looking like he's going to get that underlying target volume and opportunity share as far as carries out of the backfield that we need for success in fantasy. But this is just an absolutely terrible matchup. If you can shut down Breece Hall, you can shut down anybody. And the 49ers made it hard for Breece Hall to run. Now, obviously, he got in the end zone, but his yards per carry efficiency was poor, and he was pretty much saved by the touchdown. So I don't really like starting Aaron Jones against San Francisco. Don't like starting anybody against San Francisco. Number 20 on my list for my rankings is Tony Pollard. No, not Tony Pollard. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard against the New York Jets. Tony Pollard against the New York Jets. Obviously, Tony Pollard displayed that he has some of his explosiveness back. And I like the fact that he's 2 years removed from his major injury now. So I'm glad to see that he has some of his explosiveness back. Obviously, he's playing in an offense that doesn't give him a whole lot of scoring upside, but he's going to be cracking my top 20 pretty much every week as long as he maintains that big playability and is the clear number one running back in this offense. Everybody was saying it was going to be Tyjae Spears going into the season, but it very much looks like it's going to be Tony Pollard. So I am starting him this week at my running back 2 spot. My number 21 on the week is going to be Travis Etienne. I am a little bit concerned about Travis Etienne right now, boys, because, well, he just didn't get a whole lot of work in week one. I mean, he only had 12 carries. Tank Bigsby comes out and matches him as far as carry count. I don't like this. It looks like Tank Bigsby is going to be a lot more involved in the offense this year. What we thought was going to happen last year with the split opportunity in the backfield looks like it's going to be the case this year. It's only week one, a little bit early to judge, but I really don't like Travis Etienne only getting 12 carries in week one. It's very concerning. Going up against Cleveland, a tough defense, I don't really like this matchup. He's a good enough player to be in my top 24 rankings, but I'm not too big on him this week. Number 22 is going to be Najee Harris. So we got Najee Harris going up against Denver. Obviously, Denver is a team that can give up yards on the ground. Their defense really is centered around Patrick Surtain. So you look at this game and, George Pickens might get shut down, but I think you can look for Najee Harris to have a big game and potentially explode against Denver. And he looks like he's going to be the clear bell cow in the offense. I got Aaron Jones at San Francisco. As my number 23. I don't know. Looks like Hollywood Brown will be out for several months. Would you use an IL spot? Only 2 available. No, I wouldn't drop him, bro. I mean, I still think he holds pretty good value when he comes back. I mean, anybody in the Kansas City offense with Mahomes slinging on the ball, especially a player with his kind of downfield speed, is good. Now, I don't know. I'm going to have to go back to your question on Aaron Jones. I don't know. I do have him ranked ahead of Gus Edwards. You're holding Keaton Mitchell too. It's really close between Aaron Jones and Gus Edwards. I mean, Aaron Jones is just such a superior player. It's just kind of hard to rank Gus Edwards ahead of him. David Montgomery. And rounding out my top 24, we got David Montgomery against Tampa Bay. David Montgomery clearly has a role in this offense. He's going to be utilized. It looks like he's going to get a lot more carries than I think we thought going into the year. I thought it was going to be Aljamir Gibbs this season, but they're still using David Montgomery heavily. Obviously, they started last year doing the same thing, but it looks like they're going to do it again this year, and he's going to be heavily involved in the offense. So I think we have to play David Montgomery at least at our flex for now until further notice. Anyway, that rounds out my top 24. I'm going to be staying on and answering fantasy football questions. So if you're on and you haven't caught my rankings, just scroll to the top of the chat. You can see all my rankings 1 through 24 on running backs for week 2. So go ahead and check out those rankings. And I am going to be continuing to stay on here and answer fantasy football questions for week 2. So ask away, ask as many questions as you want. And let's blow this chat section up and get this thing going. Yeah, Anthony, I'm starting Aaron Jones. Despite what I initially said, I'm starting Aaron Jones over Gus Edwards. So even in the tough matchup, man, I've got to play Aaron Jones. No. You're good, bro. You're good. That's why I say, when I start the stream, I'm doing my best to answer questions while I'm doing my rankings. So trying to get some people in here. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, the more people, the better. But no, you can always ask questions at any point in the live stream. You can ask questions. There's no part of the live stream where I'm like, hey, don't ask a question right now. It doesn't matter to me. You can ask as many questions as you want, and you can do it at any time in the live stream. We got some more people filing on in. Appreciate you guys coming in. The Champs. What up, the Champs? Good to hear from you, man. Would you trade Nico Collins for Jayden Reed and Jerome Ford? That is tough. I don't think that Jayden Reed holds quite the value that people think he does because, one, his quarterback is going to be out for at least a little bit. 2, I don't think he's going to do what he did in week 1 every week just because he's so big play dependent. So, I don't know, man. I'm going to take the Nico Collins side of this trade, and I would not trade Nico Collins for Jayden Reed and Jerome Ford. I am going to hold on to Nico Collins in this spot. All right, y'all. If y'all are just now filing on in, you could scroll to the top of the chat to see my week 2 running back rankings 1 through 24 and the matchups. And if you want to refer back to the beginning of the live stream, you could get my opinion on why I have each player where they do. And now I am at the question answering portion of my live stream. So I'm going to be answering all fantasy football questions that you have regarding week 2 or just all fantasy football questions in general. My main league is extremely competitive, looking for someone to replace Hollywood, at least for now. Yeah, I mean, it's tough right now because, like, with Hollywood going on IR, it just seems like one of those things where it's going to linger all season, you know? Like, at first, like, oh, he might miss week 1. And then all of a sudden, oh, he's going to be out for a few weeks. And then all of a sudden, now he's going to be out for a month. So it just seems like one of those things, very much like the Christian McCaffrey injury, that are just lingering. And so it's hard to have faith in the fact that he's going to come back at any point. So I totally understand you wanting to replace Hollywood Brown for the moment. I get it, you know, like I think he does hold value when he comes back, but there's always the chance that like he just ends up continuing to miss a significant amount of time and just takes up a roster spot for you. So it's just kind of an annoying situation to deal with. Ask away, everybody, as many fantasy football questions as you would like. Thoughts on Kincaid? That's a good question, man. I was telling everybody that I thought Dalton Kincaid was going to bounce back in week 2. He certainly did not bounce back in week 2. You know, he got you 3 fantasy points in standard leagues. This dude has been very disappointing, and I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. But at the same time, like the Buffalo Bills didn't throw that many passes. I mean, how many pass attempts did Josh Allen even have? Not many. So considering the fact that Dalton Kincaid is still getting a healthy target share percentage-wise, I still think he's going to be pretty heavily involved in the offense. So I'm not hitting the panic button on him yet. But if we see another bust week or 2 more bust weeks, I might start to get a little bit concerned. But I still think he's going to be a huge part of the offensive game plan going forward for the Bills. So I'm not panicking quite yet. I'm not selling, and I'm really not even putting him on my bench. I'm still probably keeping him in my starting lineup for now. File on in, everybody. I got my 1 through 24 rankings up at the top. If you scroll to the top of the chat, you can get all my rankings 1 through 24 for running backs in week 2. Blow up the chat, everybody. PVG, half PPR. What do you think about a Pitts for likely trade? Too risky? I don't think it's too risky. I mean, look, Kyle Pitts hasn't done anything for years. Isaiah Likely comes out and just absolutely dominates in week 1 and looks like he's going to be the tight end 1 in the offense. I don't think it's too risky. Most people would say that based on draft capital, you're giving up too much, but I don't think so, man. I'm going to put him on IL for now unless I need a space, but I'm looking for a fill-in. Otherwise, I'm going with Aaron Jones, unfortunately. I mean, Aaron Jones is fine, man. Like, obviously, he has a tough matchup, but he's such a good player. He's so freaking efficient. His inherent upside and ceiling is still there just because of his ability and the fact that teams are going to be playing their safeties back to account for Justin Jefferson. So it is going to leave at least some lighter boxes for Aaron Jones. You think Ridley will bounce back? Worried about Levis? I was somewhat big on Calvin Ridley going into the season, and I do think that Calvin Ridley is still going to have a pretty decent year from an overall standpoint. So, yeah, I'm not too worried about Calvin Ridley. I do think he will bounce back. Pick one, have PPR, Devontae Adams, Brian Robinson Jr., or J.K. Dobbins. You know what's so funny is going into the season, if you ask this question in week 1, everyone would tell you you're crazy. It's amazing how much week 1 changes everyone's opinion. And I'm not saying that it's a bad question. It's a totally valid question because all of these players have some upside this week. And J.K. Dobbins, man, J.K. Dobbins has a good matchup, right? So, like, I don't mind playing him. Brian Robinson has a good matchup. But I think we're going to still be playing Devontae Adams. I mean, we have the track record with Devontae Adams. This dude's been great in fantasy for years. Obviously, he's not dealing with a very good overall offensive situation, but he's by far and away the best player here. And I am going to be starting Devontae Adams with confidence. But if you wanted to start J.K. Dobbins, I couldn't blame you. So if I were to rank these in order, Andre in the house, what's up, my man? If I were to rank these in order, I would start Devontae Adams. J.K. would be number 2 on my priority list, and then Brian Robinson Jr. What are your top trade and sell targets? That's a good question. I've been meaning to do a sell high video. Thank God I didn't start Keon Coleman last night. Yeah, I mean, Keon Coleman has been such an extreme disappointment so far. I really, I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, like, the dude wasn't even targeted, so it's kind of a problem. Let me get back to you, the champs, on my sell high targets because I'm actually going to do a video on that. So I don't want to say all of them right now because I've been meaning to do a sell high video, and I need to do that as soon as possible. With Walker being out, would you start Monty? What, Monty or Mason? Oh, Mason, bro. Like, we're definitely starting Jordan Mason. Jordan Mason is must-start material now. Awesome. Love the work you do. Yeah, no problem, the champs. I'm here for you, man, and I do my best to help people with fantasy football as much as I can. I love doing this, though. It's fun. You know, I definitely get a lot out of it, so I enjoy doing it, and I'm here to help you guys all season long. So I appreciate you tuning into the live streams and, you know, interacting and being part of my videos and part of the Crushing Fantasy community, my man. At Flex, Godwin, Ridley, or Monty? We're definitely going to go with Chris Godwin here. I think Chris Godwin's going to explode this season. With him moving back to the slot, he's going to be absolutely awesome. I think that he's going to match Mike Evans' production this season. I mean, if you look at last week, the most targeted wide receiver in the offense was Chris Godwin. And I have Brian Thomas Jr. You're still playing Chris Godwin, bro, over Brian Thomas Jr. easily, without question. All right, y'all, if y'all are just tuning in, you can get my rankings at the top. If you scroll to the top of the chat, you can get my top 24 running back rankings. Here I am answering all fantasy football questions. Good to see more of you filing on in. Decided to go with Austin Ekeler as my flex this week in a 14-man. It's either Ekeler or Ridley. I am going to go with Ekeler here as well, my friend. Definitely going with Austin Ekeler over Calvin Ridley at the flex. I still think that Austin Ekeler's got some pretty good upside this season. I mean, it looks like Brian Thomas Jr. is going to be the guy, but Brian Robinson Jr. is going to be the guy, but would you start Courtland Sutton versus Pitt over Aaron Jones? No, probably not. I think Aaron Jones, I'm assuming, if it's a standard league for sure, but assuming it's PPR, I'm still starting Aaron Jones. He's going to see lighter boxes in this game, and he's probably going to be catching more passes out of the backfield due to the lighter boxes. Bro, Bo Nix doesn't look so good. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not too sold on Courtland Sutton right now. I just don't like the situation in Denver. Ramondre or Kamara this week? Kamara by far, my friend. I tried to get Tank Dell, but he ended up backing out of the deal. What a hoe. What a hoe. Sorry he ended up backing out of the deal. Maybe you can try giving him something else. I mean, like, it could be one of those things where now, like, since you're coming after him so aggressively, like, since you're coming after Tank Dell so aggressively, he's like, hold on, he must know something I don't. So maybe you made him like Tank Dell more, unfortunately. That's why with your trades, you got to be kind of covert and act like who you're going after isn't that big of a deal and not throw too much at him. But I don't know, man. It looked like he was going to do it for a while, according to what you were saying. So, yeah. Full PPR, yeah. I'm definitely starting Aaron Jones, bro. He's going to be seeing lighter boxes because teams are going to be, you know, San Francisco is going to give him some lighter boxes to run through. I think he's going to have a decent game. I don't like the matchup, but I'm definitely starting him over Courtland Sutton. Yeah, plus Tank Dell is his wide receiver one, so he ended up telling me he wanted to keep him. Yeah, I mean, if Tank Dell is your wide receiver one, it makes it a lot harder to trade him because, like, I mean, and that's not even that good of a wide receiver one. Like, to be your wide receiver one on your team, like, if that's his best wide receiver, he literally can't trade him because it would probably totally ruin his roster construction. Those of you who are new, you can scroll to the top and see my top 24 rankings. If you would like to go to the top and see my top 24 running back rankings for week 2, I'm down here answering all fantasy football questions regarding week 2 and all fantasy football questions in general. So ask away, blow up the chat. Don't be afraid to ask. We want to get as many comments in this comment section as we possibly can, and we will go from there. Chris Olave, Devontae Smith, Ridley are my wide receivers, which I don't like, but at least my running backs are Bijan and Mixon. So I'm happy. Yeah, you're absolutely set at running back. It looks like Joe Mixon's going to be a total workhorse this season. Yeah, your wide receiver room could definitely use an upgrade, but unfortunately, your 2 starting running backs are too good to sell. Unless you wanted to consider selling Mixon coming off a huge week 1 performance. Obviously, it looks like Mixon is, I don't want to say untradeable, but like you would have to get a really good wide receiver for Joe Mixon. But if you wanted to trade him for a really good wide receiver that had a little bit of a down week 1, that could be a consideration. Yeah, bro, I'm starting to like Godwin more and more. Tampa have a nice offense. Yeah, dude. I mean, I like Tampa Bay. I said this going into last season. Everybody was calling me crazy for saying that Baker Mayfield would function really good in the Tampa Bay system. I had people literally like unsubscribe to my channel because they were like, I had somebody say like, "Oh, you just said Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback." I had to unsubscribe, and I'm like, I'm not saying Baker's the best quarterback in the world, but he is definitely good enough in the right system to support receivers like Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Mike Evans has been quarterback proof his entire career. Chris Godwin is absolutely elite when given the opportunity share. So, yeah, I love Chris Godwin, especially being back in the slot. Do you think Olave bounces back this week? I don't know how I feel. It's a tough matchup. Yes, I do think Chris Olave bounces back. If you look at his target share last season, this dude was getting almost 10 targets every single week. It's still generally the same offense. They didn't make a whole lot of moves to make their offense different. They had the same running back. They had the same two top wide receivers in Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed. So I think that it will function similarly to the way the offense functioned last year. I think that last week was just a week one fluke, so I do expect Chris Olave to bounce back. Your guys are going to be all over Carr too. Saints O-line is bad. Yeah, I mean, like it's definitely going to be one of those things where it's going to be dump off city to Alvin Kamara. I think that Alvin Kamara absolutely explodes this week just because of the fact that they're going to have to run him often in order to avoid the pass rush, and they're going to have to dump off and check down a lot as far as giving him targets out of the backfield because of the pass rush. So it's just going to be one of those things. Kamara's going to have himself a game. But I still think Olave bounces back. He's going to do way better than he did last week. Thoughts on Kincaid? Yeah, somebody was asking about Dalton Kincaid earlier. I don't really think that Dalton Kincaid is somebody to worry about yet. Yeah, he did start off hot. Look, the Buffalo Bills didn't pass a whole lot in this game. The passing volume was down in general for Josh Allen. So I like Kincaid still this season. I think he's going to bounce back in a pretty significant way. I am not dropping him. I'm damn sure not selling him because you can't get that much for him right now. I am probably keeping him in my starting lineup as of this very moment. Appreciate y'all filing on in. If you want to catch my running back rankings, I have my top 24 running back rankings at the top of the chat for week 2. I'm answering all fantasy football questions, so blow up the chat, ask away. I want as many comments possible in the comment section, and let's keep this rolling. Is Kamani Vidal worth stashing before anything happens to J.K. Dobbins or bust? So you're assuming something's going to happen to J.K. Dobbins, my guy J.K. Dobbins? No, I totally get it, man. Obviously, both those running backs are a little bit injury prone. I don't know. Like, I don't think Kamani Vidal is like a good enough player, even in a run-heavy offense. I don't think he's a good enough player. He's not nearly as explosive as J.K. Dobbins, right? And even Gus Edwards is a little bit like undersold on how efficient he is as far as his yards per carry efficiency. I don't think Kamani Vidal is half the running back that J.K. Dobbins is. I don't even think he's as talented as Gus Edwards. So I'm not stashing him in hopes of an injury. I'm keeping someone who has more talent that's a handcuff to somebody. Neighbors over Reed this week. Yes, Neighbors over Reed this week. I don't trust Malik Willis at all. Are you out on Drake London? It's a little bit too early to be completely out on Drake London. I mean, I think Drake London's going to bounce back. He does have a massive quarterback upgrade from what he had last season, and he's still going to be getting a significant target share and be by far and away the wide receiver one in his offense. So to say that, like, I'm just completely out on Drake London, no way. I still think we need to give him some time. I love Dobbins. He's just burned me a couple of years. Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, people are like kind of like almost emotional about him because like he really has screwed people because you invested draft capital in him and he ends up like missing the entire season every year or coming back and then getting hurt again. And it's just really hard to navigate like what to do with J.K. Dobbins because he's been so freaking injury prone. But he certainly looked very explosive in week 1. He's still young. I think he might be able to defy the odds and be the first running back to come back from a torn Achilles and be functional, and not only functional, but potentially elite. So we're going to keep him for now plugged into our starting lineups in most situations. I feel like I'm more on for drafting him in the second round. I fell for the trap. Man, don't worry about it, man. We all make mistakes in fantasy. If you had caught a lot of my pre-draft videos that I released, I definitely was hammering the fact home to not draft Drake London, but it's okay. His ADP this year made no sense. Yeah, it didn't make sense. I thought he was one of the most overdrafted players. Big game for CD this week. Yeah, we got a big game for CD this week against the Saints, I think that CeeDee Lamb's going to explode. HN looks insane, man. Yeah, he comes out and has 29.5 fantasy points this week, and they kept him in the game even when the game is over. It's almost as if the entire Dolphins coaching staff has HN in fantasy or something. It's pretty crazy. I'm pretty sure they all have him in fantasy because they took Waddle and Tyreek out of the game. And yeah, McDaniel, he did draft him. How else do you explain it? He took Waddle and Tyreek out of the game, and they leave their superstar running back in the game. This is one of the better running backs in the NFL now, and they just kept him on the field like the game was close. I know. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, you take your two stud wide receivers off the field, you leave in your starting running back who had a designate. I mean, like, he was injured going into the game. He was a game time decision, and they keep him into the game and make sure that he gets his 30 touches. How else do you explain it? Dobbins or Najee? Dobbins by like a million miles, my friend. I love the matchup for J.K. Dobbins this week. Yeah, so I'm definitely starting J.K. Dobbins. It was ridiculous. The guy is small, and they are risking him. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but like he runs so tough, man. Like he seems like he's kind of a genetic anomaly. And the fact that he can handle a pretty big workload despite being a smaller back, I should have known that with Allen's hand injury, Cook would get the goal line touches. Cook absolutely went off in this game, man. I mean, absolutely just came out and exploded. And I feel bad because I don't remember specifically who it was, but I told someone to start somebody over James Cook, and like whoever it was, James Cook is inevitably probably going to be the better play. Should I trade Ingram and Ridley for Andrews? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm a little bit concerned about Mark Andrews right now, and I think that even if you were to trade Ingram for Andrews straight up, I think you're getting the bad end of that deal, and you're giving away Ridley. You're giving away way too much for a player that I'm not even that confident in. So no, Sebastian, I would not make that trade. Dobbins or Henry? Probably Henry, bro. I mean, I like J.K. Dobbins this week, but I'm definitely starting Derrick Henry over him. Hear me out, bro. I want a beast running back like Kyren or Gibbs. Does a package of K9 and Godwin get me anywhere near that? I don't think so, especially considering the fact that K9 is a little bit banged up right now. So, I mean, like if he was healthy, it might be a different situation, but I'm not sure you even want to make that trade. I am huge on Chris Godwin this year. I'm not 100% sure that I would give up K9 and Godwin for Kyren Williams. I probably would do it for Jahmyr Gibbs, but I also wouldn't feel that good about it. Patriot sends, hey, bro, should I start Dobbins this week over Harris from Pittsburgh? Patriot sends 100% you should start J.K. Dobbins over Najee Harris this week. Thoughts on Pittman? Do I keep him or trade? I don't think you can sell that high on Pittman right now, considering the fact that he had a very underperforming game in week 1. So I'm holding Michael Pittman for now. Don't make that trade. Trade for him. Yeah. Oh, trade for Michael Pittman. Yeah, I don't mind trading for Michael Pittman. I mean, I'm not that big on Michael Pittman from a season-long perspective, but at the same time, right now you could get him for a ham sandwich. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't like giving up Kenneth Walker and Chris Godwin for Kyren or Gibbs. I might do it for Gibbs, especially if my roster construction was like very much in need of running backs, but I don't know, man. Welcome in, everybody. If you're just now joining the live stream, you can catch my running back rankings at the very top of the chat. All you got to do is scroll to the top of the chat. I have my top 24 running back rankings posted up there. I'm answering all fantasy football questions regarding week 2. So ask away, blow up the comment section, and let's keep this rolling. Great channel, man. Gonna sub. Keep up the good work. Patriots fans, I very much appreciate you. Subbing is one of the most important things you can do for the channel to help my channel grow. So I very much appreciate the sub, my man. And it is good to have you on board and on the channel. We appreciate you. If y'all are in here and you haven't liked the video, do make sure to like the video as well. Just important for the algorithm, right? Need some likes. Yeah, I agree. Appreciate you, Anthony. What questions we got for week 2, ladies and gentlemen? Ask away. If you are new to the video, scroll to the top to see my running back rankings. I'm set, and I don't. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, man. It was week 1, man. I wouldn't worry about it. I really hope you bounce back in the subscriber league, man. I'm definitely rooting for you. Ferguson or Likely for season? I'm still taking Ferguson for sure. I mean, like, if you look at the offense, I think the Cowboys' offense is going to be a little bit better than the Ravens' offense. So I like the overall upside for the offense better. And I still like the tight end and the talent better from Jake Ferguson. I think that Jake Ferguson is an elite player. I just want to see him stay healthy and on the field. So, bro, funny enough, the guy has both Kyren and Gibbs along with Hill and Cup. My goodness gracious, his lineup is absolutely stacked. Of course, obviously, Tyreek Hill is going to be losing a significant amount of value now. So that kind of sucks. But he still has an absolutely – man, Kyren, Gibbs, Hill, and Cup. That's crazy. How did he pull that off? It's crazy that you could get those 4 players in the same draft. $10-man leagues. Yeah, but even in a 10-man league, that's still crazy. Like, that's like an 8-man league or even a 6-man. No, not a 6-man league, but like it seems like an 8-man league draft. Yeah, 10-man's kind of crazy. I don't know though. I like 10-man leagues. I'm in 3 of them. Ask away in the comment section, everybody. Ask as many questions as you want. What's your best 10-man roster? Let me actually pull that up. I'm going to look because I know one team that I have specifically is my favorite team that I have. Honestly, the subscriber league that I'm in, my team is really stacked. Another guy has Bijan and Saquon. I'm not going to lie. It might be my subscriber league team. But then again, no. Hold on. This is one of my bigger money leagues, and it's a standard team. I have Josh Allen as a quarterback. I have Breece Hall as my RB1. Jordan Mason right now is my RB2. Deebo Samuel, Marvin Harrison Jr., Dalton Kincaid, James Conner, with Pickens, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson, and J.K. Dobbins on my bench. Next year, I want to try 14-team league. I've only played in 12 teams until the 8-team subscriber league. Yeah, I mean, 14-team leagues are fun. They definitely require a whole lot more work, and like, the deeper the league goes, the more skill it requires because you have to do more and more research on players because everybody's lineup in a 14-man league or especially a 16-man league aren't nearly as stacked. So that would be fun. I might try to make the subscriber league a 14-man league next year. What's the subscriber team looking like? The subscriber league team is – that's a good question. Honestly, bro, I feel like it's a pretty stacked team. Like, I'm not just saying that because it's my team. I think I got some really good values. I have C.J. Stroud as my quarterback. I have Josh Jacobs and Alvin Kamara as my running backs. I have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Justin Jefferson as my wide receivers. Trey McBride as a tight end. Rashee Rice as my flex. And Minnesota defense. Oh my gosh, I got to change out my defense this week. And Harrison Butker, Kansas City kicker. I like the deep leagues. 16 is a lot of fun, in my opinion. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I love the 16-man leagues. Yes, better players do. Better in 14-team leagues. Yeah, 14 and 16-man leagues are fun. They are a lot of work, though, but I enjoy doing them. I'm in 2 14-man leagues this season. I am not in any 16-man leagues this year. Not that I'm against it, but yeah, I got Amon-Ra and Jefferson. Yeah, Amon-Ra slipped to so it's an 8-man league. So, like, first of all, keep that in mind. It's an 8-man league, so the teams are really stacked. But I got Amon-Ra at the 1.8, and I got Justin Jefferson at the 201. Or at the 2.1. And my tight end is Trey McBride. Yeah. And Rice is a flex. Yeah, it's an absolutely stacked team. There's no doubt about it. I'm big into Roto. I'm a big Roto baseball guy. I should translate to 14 or 16 leagues in football. Yeah, I play some fantasy baseball. I don't know that much about fantasy baseball. I know that, like, it's really hard because production in baseball is so incredibly random in comparison to football. But I do like playing fantasy baseball on Underdog Fantasy and drafting some large field tournament teams. I haven't won any big tournaments yet in fantasy baseball. I haven't won any big tournaments in fantasy football either, though, but I have gotten close. Oh, man, is the bench stacked? I need some help moving Rachaad White, bro. Rachaad White is a great sell high right now. I mean, obviously, he's a player who's coming off of a very good game where he didn't run effectively, but he was saved by his passing production. So I like trading Rachaad White, but I don't remember who else you have on this team because you're in so many leagues that I don't know who else you have on your team that you could possibly package with him. But I'm winning one of these large field fantasy tournaments this year on Underdog. I'm winning one of them. I drafted 226 teams, so you think, one of them can pop off. I can package him with guys like Reed, Ramondre, JSN, Addison, Puka. Man, if you're going to trade Rachaad White and one of those guys, you better be getting something really good because Rachaad White still has really high perceived value right now compared to most like fantasy content creators. Like, I'm not that big on Rachaad White, but a lot of them are. So, I could be wrong on this one. I don't like Rachaad White rest of season. I just don't think that his yards per carry efficiency is good enough to sustain long-term fantasy production. So I'm just not that big on Rachaad White. If y'all are new to the live stream, I do have my top 24 rankings, my top 24 running back rankings for week 2 at the top of the chat. If you want to scroll to the top of the chat, people are high on JSN. I'm not, but you might be able to sell him high as well. Yeah, I mean, JSN obviously comes out and has a terrible week 1, but people were big on him going into the season. It's very much because of the narrative that players that are elite prospects always break out in year 2. This happens so often. It very well could happen with JSN, but I'm just not too sold on the overall efficiency of that Seattle offense. Obviously, they have a plethora of passing weapons, but they seem like they're going to underperform a little bit. I don't know. Package him. Package JSN with Rachaad White. I agree with that because I think that of every player you have listed here, JSN probably has the least amount of value. So if you're going to package him with anybody, probably package him with JSN. Who would you go for and who would you package? I like the Rachaad White JSN package. Something that you could realistically get for that, dude, I'm telling you right now, you could get Marvin Harrison Jr. for that trade straight up. You could get Marvin Harrison Jr. for Rachaad White and JSN right now. Addison too low right now. Yeah, because of the injury. Yeah, for sure. Welcome in, everybody. Scroll to the top of the chat if you want my top 24 running back rankings for week 2 of the fantasy football season. That is at the top of the chat, and I am here answering all fantasy football questions. My receivers are CD, London, Neighbors, Laporta because of the Puka injury. Some people think he may get suspended as well. Addison, yeah. These players just can't seem to stay away from doing, like, dumb stuff in the offseason. Like, the minute he got that DWI, I was just like, man, I don't get it. You're getting paid millions of dollars to take care of your body and be in great shape. Why you got to be out drinking all the time? I mean, obviously you want to have fun with all your money, but, man, like, just stay in line, right? Don't go out and get DWIs. or just take an Uber. Like, for real. You can afford it. Like, damn. I need a running back upgrade from White. Yeah, I know. So if you're looking for a running back to buy on, honestly, bro, right now, now you're going to have to package somebody better than JSN if you're going to do this, but try to go for Jonathan Taylor. I mean, he had a bad week 1. If you were to package Rachaad White with like a good wide receiver, considering that you have wide receiver depth on this team, you might be able to get Jonathan Taylor. Yeah, I think Jonathan Taylor is a great buy low right now. Welcome in, everybody. If you haven't caught my rankings, you can always scroll to the top of the chat. My top 24 running back rankings for week 2 are up at the top of the chat, and I am answering all fantasy football questions. White and Reed. Yeah, I mean, if you can get Jonathan Taylor for White and Reed, you do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, but that's the thing is you got to do it now. I mean, like, if you're going to get after Jonathan Taylor, you got to do it now before he goes off in week 2. Welcome into the chat, everybody. Appreciate y'all filing on in. Reed is tough to sell right now. Yeah, just because like obviously he had a great week 1, but with the Jordan Love injury, he's incredibly hard to sell. But at the same time, if Jordan Love didn't get hurt, you probably wouldn't want to sell Reed in the first place. And he does have still some pretty good long-term value. So if people aren't giving you a ton for Jayden Reed, it might be better to just hold him. Yeah. Yeah, I totally get it. All right, we got some more of you filing on in. Refer to the top of the chat for my top 24 running back rankings. Puka screwed me. Yeah, I didn't really like Puka going in the first round this year, bro. I was telling everybody to wait and draft Cooper Kupp. The first round value was too much. Now, obviously, it's easy to say after an injury happens, but I just thought that he was overvalued to begin with this season. He was my wide receiver 2 in 2 money leagues. Oh, well. Unfortunate. But hey, he's going to be back at some point. It's not like he's out for the season, bro. And the minute he comes back, he's going to hold value. It's Puka freaking Nacua. The dude's awesome when he's on the field. Wasn't dealing with a knee injury last season, too. Not that I know of. Puka Nacua was pretty healthy last season. I think he might have gotten a little bit banged up at some point, but it was definitely nothing serious. And he finishes the wide receiver 4 or 5 last year. 4, 5, something like that. Welcome into the live stream, everybody. Answering all fantasy football questions. Yeah, Puka played the whole year. I was pretty sure. Like I was about to say, I didn't think he missed any significant time last year, or any time whatsoever. Yeah, Puka went off, dude. He was awesome. Very much because of the fact that Cooper Kupp was pretty much injured all year. I mean, like even when Cooper Kupp was on the field, he clearly wasn't 100%. Like people that read box scores just think that Puka Nacua took over the offense, but if you were actually watching the games, Cooper Kupp didn't have his explosiveness. He clearly wasn't 100%. Or really anything close to it. He was playing at like 60% when he was on the field. The dude just wasn't the full-on Cooper Kupp. Now he's 100% healed from his injury, and he's Cooper Kupp again. Welcome into the live stream, everybody. You can catch my top 24 running back rankings for week 2 at the top of the chat. I'm here answering all fantasy football questions. I do think White can have a big game this weekend. Yeah, it's certainly possible, and he's going to be a great sell high if he does. He's going to get more work with Love injury, and eventually Love will be back. A good target might be Josh Jacobs for Andre. Yeah, Josh Jacobs is a good target. I didn't even think about that, but he's a really good buy low right now. Josh Jacobs gave me PTSD from all the times I drafted him. Dude, Josh Jacobs is a great value this year. I mean, like, I love where he was being drafted. I still think that he's an awesome buy low candidate right now. If you can buy low on Josh Jacobs, dude, that's actually a very good idea. This dude's going to explode this year, and he's going to get a lot of work in this offense as long as Jordan Love is out. And even when Jordan Love comes back, I still think he's going to be awesome. I am huge on Josh Jacobs this season, so he's a great buy low right now. But you got to buy him before he goes off, man. He had a bust in week 1. It's the best time to buy low on Josh Jacobs right now. it might be the best time to buy Josh Jacobs all season long. It might, in fact, be your only opportunity to get him for a reasonable price. Welcome into the live stream, everybody. You can catch my top 24 rankings at the top of the chat. Ask away all your fantasy football questions. Blow up the chat. I'm here to answer everything and help y'all get your best team on the field for week 2 of the fantasy football season. So blow up the comment section. Yeah, man. I say give it a shot with Josh Jacobs again. Yeah, he was great 2 years. 2 years ago, he was the number 1 running back in standard leagues, number 3 running back in PPR leagues. He was awesome. Puka was looking so good in that game too. Bro took a quick 4 catches and he was cooking. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, him and Cooper Kupp were both getting targeted early. It just looks like it's going to be a two-headed monster and wide receiver in that offense. As long as whenever Puka gets healthy, it's just going to be a two-headed monster. The entire offense runs through Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. That might be a little bit bad for Kyren Williams. Like, it could also be good for him because it increases the overall efficiency of the offense. But like, Kyren Williams is probably going to see less target share out of the backfield this year when both Puka and Kupp are on the field. The Lions take players' knees. Yeah. D-Rob should be valuable out there now. Yeah. Who was the guy that absolutely demolished Hawkinson's knee? I do not remember, to be honest with you, my man. Sorry, I got to go, guys. Thanks, Bryce. Good luck, everyone. Appreciate you dropping in, Anthony. Always good to see you, man. And I will catch you soon, I'm sure. Have a good night. You guys can catch my top 24 running back rankings if you scroll to the top of the chat. Appreciate you, Anthony. That's right. Hit some likes, and let's get this video out so as many people as possible can see the video, and I can help all of you guys get your best team on the field for Fantasy Football Week 2. We're doing it big here. We're doing it live, so ask away. Welcome into the stream, everybody. You can catch my top 24 rankings at the top of the chat. You can scroll to the top of the chat and see my top 24 rankings. I'm here answering all fantasy football questions that you have for week 2. We're going to get your best lineup on the field for week 2. So go ahead and ask away and blow up the comment section, and let's keep this rolling. Welcome in, everybody. We got some more of you joining. Good to see. Good to see. Ask away all fantasy football questions for week 2 or just fantasy football questions in general. If you want to catch my week 2 running back rankings, they are at the top of the chat. Welcome into the stream, everybody. Ask away. Fantasy football questions, week 2. Good to see some more of you joining. Should I drop T-Law for Baker? No, I wouldn't do that yet. I still think T-Law has more upside, bro. I am not dropping T-Law for Baker right now. If we continue to see the increased production for Baker Mayfield, maybe we do, but Baker doesn't have any rushing upside. T-Law at least has a little bit of it. So I'm going to be keeping T-Law over Baker Mayfield for right now. Patrick C., gun to your head, if you had to start Tank Bigsby or Justice Hill, PPR. Man, you must be in a deep league. I'm going to be starting probably Justice Hill due to the pass catching upside, but I really don't think he has the touchdown upside because of Derrick Henry, but I don't really think that Tank Bigsby has touchdown upside either. So due to the pass catching upside of Justice Hill, I'm going to be starting him in PPR leagues. What about Stafford? What about him? Appreciate y'all. As many of y'all hit the like button as possible if you enjoy the stream. If you haven't caught my top 24 running back rankings, they are at the top of the chat. You can scroll to the top of the chat, see my top 24 running back rankings for week 2 of the fantasy football season. Andre, what did you mean about Stafford specifically? Like, just what about starting him this week? I mean, he's a fine play this week. If you don't have a quarterback with rushing upside, Stafford's a fine play. I don't mind him. Appreciate y'all tuning in to the live stream. Ask away, blow up the comment section. As many fantasy football questions as you ask, there is no limit. Ask as many fantasy football questions as you would like. I also have Javonte and McLaurin, trying to package them for a low-end running back. Who should I go for? I'm cooked. Also have Javonte and McLaughlin, trying to package them for a low-end running back. Who should I go for? I think 2 great buy low running backs right now are Jonathan Taylor and Josh Jacobs. However, I don't think that you have the firepower there with Javonte to pick up either one of those running backs. So you're probably going to have to aim a little bit lower. Maybe go for you guys let me know, how long is Kenneth Walker going to be out? How serious is his injury? Because if Kenneth Walker is going to be back soon, you could buy low on him right now, being the fact that he's a little bit banged up. But when he comes back, he's going to be awesome because it's Kenneth freaking Walker. So maybe you could buy low on Kenneth Walker as long as he's not missing too much time. Just because he's missing a little bit of time, maybe you could buy low on him right now. That would be a good play. Javonte maybe in another small piece. But obviously, you want to get somebody for this week. So David Montgomery might be another good one. You could buy on David Montgomery right now. He's definitely attainable in trade market. Also, what point do I trade? This is a very good question. I traded for him before week 1, so didn't get Mason. Yeah, like here's the thing. I was recommending that anyone that, got CMC this year to go ahead and roster Jordan Mason just in case. That being said, a lot of people didn't do that. It's no big deal. But the problem is right now, selling CMC is kind of hard. In fact, if you're going to do it, I would do it sooner than later, because the longer that it goes without him getting on the field, the more people are going to be jumping ship on CMC and not have anything to do with them. So right now, he still has that first overall pick draft capital. You could still sell him high and still probably get something really good for him. So I would trade him right now if you're going to trade him, and trade him for somebody really damn good. Okay, if you're not getting somebody really good, then just go ahead and hold on to him, because it's Christian McCaffrey at the end of the day. Even with him being banged up and having a lot of injury concerns this year, if you don't get an absolute boatload in return, I wouldn't trade him. But to answer your question, I would do it sooner than later. The longer it goes, the more value he loses. Ask away, everybody. Fantasy football questions for week 2, or just your season-long fantasy football questions. We're doing it all here. We're doing it live. Blow up the comment section, and let's keep this rolling. Make sure to hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And let's keep this live stream chugging along. Receivers I'd trade London for. Right now, it's just so hard to sell on Drake London. I wouldn't trade Drake London right now, bro. And you know what I think of Drake London. I am not that big on him, but I also don't think you can get all that much for him right now. I mean, obviously, you drafted him in the second round, but he was just a total bust in week 1. The Falcons' pass-catching system just doesn't look like it was that efficient. And so right now, I think Drake London is a much better hold than sell. If I were to sell him, I would want to get at least Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, you invested a lot of draft capital in Drake London, so you got to get somebody really good for him. So maybe MHJ, if somebody's panicking on MHJ, maybe you could sell London for Marvin Harrison Jr., and I would do that in a heartbeat. Welcome into the live stream, everybody. We're doing it big here. We're doing it live. Scroll to the top of the chat to see my top 24 running back rankings for the week 2 of the 2024 fantasy football season. And go ahead and ask away all your questions. We're answering them here in the chat, and we're going to keep this rolling. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. All right, guys. I think we're going to cap it there. It's been a good stream. I appreciate y'all tuning in and watching. I have enjoyed doing these live streams so far, and I'm going to be live streaming a lot more this season. So make sure to tune in for as many live streams as possible. I'm going to be doing my wide receiver rankings and my running back rankings via live stream this year. If you join the live stream late, all you got to do is scroll to the top of the chat, and you can see my top 24 running back rankings for the specific week that we're on. So I appreciate you guys tuning in, and I will catch y'all later.